This week on Outdoor Oklahoma, two friends set out to accomplish a unique, lofty hunting goal, but discover the bond they formed and the memories made are much more valuable than their accomplishment. Right now on Outdoor Oklahoma. Well, hello and welcome to Outdoor Oklahoma. I'm Todd Craighead. Migratory bird hunters have long been familiar with the additional licenses and permits they must have to hunt species like dove and ducks and geese. Among these additional things is the Migratory Bird Harvest Information Program, or H.I.P permit for short. It was established in 1999 by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and today it's still the most reliable method that biologists have to gather valuable harvest information across the country. Without a doubt, the most popular migratory game birds are dove, ducks, and geese, but there are several other species that are considerably less common or popular. Today, we'll introduce you to two bird hunters that kind of stumbled into a personal challenge to harvest every bird species on the H.I.P permit in Oklahoma. And if that wasn't lofty enough, they wanted to do it all on public land. They called their challenge their H.I.P Quest.
Amazing.
Here she comes back.
Hold it. Hold it.
You know,
Amazing.
If it wasn't for us doing this H.I.P quest, I've been down around Three Rivers and Honobi, you know, around there, never deer hunted. I always wanted deer hunt down there. But I can't honestly say that I would have ever made it down the Red Slough.
I'd heard about Hackberry Flat forever, you know, in the duck hunting, and some people that had been down there when it first opened said, "Oh, there, you know, there's no cover, and the bottoms are, you know, it's not good hunting. Don't go." So I'd never been, and I think the first time I ever went was when we went down there to rail hunt, because we got that tip to go down there, and then we've been back several times teal hunting. It's great teal hunting down there. I mean, it's. Maisie. Good girl, here. Here. Good girl, Maisie, here, heel, drop.
"2009, that's when I went to work for you at the city of Norman.
Was it? Seems a lot longer than that, but I guess that's right.
Yeah, he interviewed me and I got a job as stormwater inspector under him in the stormwater department at the city of Norman.
I mean, at that time, I grew up in Oklahoma and I'd been hunting a lot since I've been a little kid. Anthony had hunted, I think, some when you were younger.
Yeah, I'd always deer hunted primarily.
But he hadn't been doing a lot of hunting, so at some point, we were going duck hunting, so just invited him along and he came in on a duck hunt. And he really picked it up. That's kind of one thing I found in hunting. It's not always easy to find somebody that likes to hunt the way that you do and to hunt the things that you do. Nobody backs out because of weather or decides that they don't want to do something. So I've always been interested in the variety. I mean, I like to catch fish I haven't caught. I like to hunt things and go places I haven't been. And Anthony's the same way. So, you know, whatever idea one of us comes up with, hey, you know what, we can go here and try this. You want to? And the answer has always been yes, let's go do it. I created a monster. That's what happened.
Good job, Maisie.
Fetch, hold, hold. So both these ducks here are divers. This duck is a ringneck duck. It's more common in Oklahoma. You can tell them because the coloration on the bill, they've got the very distinct different coloration on the bill. It's kind of got a purplish head, but it does have a faint chestnut colored ring around the neck there. That's why they call them ringnecks. This is an actual scaup. This is a lesser scaup. They also call them bluebills, and you can tell it's got actually the blue bill on it. and it's got kind of a greenish tint on the head, but you can also tell on the coloration on the back. The scaup will have the gray and white barring on the feathers, whereas the ringneck is mostly all kind of slate gray or black. But my experience anyway, the scaup are a lot more rare. I mean, they're not rare. We shoot a few every year, but not nearly as common as the ringnecks are. Duck hunting plays in perfectly if you like variety, because there's so many different species of ducks. And I think I've probably taken most all the species of ducks, divers and puddlers that you'll find in Oklahoma.
Aaron's got way more than I have of all the different species, but really outside of the common ones, the only one I have not common would be the bufflehead. I got that bufflehead at Thunderbird. But I just, as far as mounting, I don't want every bird in the world. I just thought like one of each. So I've got a mallard down, a pintail, and a canvasback. So I need a red head.
I told you when you shot that pintail, and we all said you need to get the pintail mounted, and you're like, okay. And then what'd you do? Like a wood duck?
Wood duck.
I said, be careful, because when you get 3 ducks mounted, you're going to be the guy with one of everything. Not only that, but then you've got like the mounted rail and the mounted snipe and all. You're going to have like a museum.
Well, the snipe and stuff, that's never going to wildlife park. Remember when we did the big display duck?
Yeah, sure.
As Aaron and Anthony have harvested each species on their quest, they're mounting each bird on a display in hopes of donating it to the wildlife department.
Here we are again.
Okay, so there's the woodcock that we always need to get for all of them. The coot and a shovelbird as well.
You don't get a chance to do this many species in one habitat at a time, and that was the whole concept of it whenever we first started out, was to try to get as many shorebirds and different birds together in one setting as we could. It's taken a while, but he's finally got it done.
The rail was the first you did. I think you said that was like one of your favorites. You ended up.
Yeah, a lot of people just didn't realize, hadn't seen one up close.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be incredibly tedious to. I mean,
I
read a little bit. I think it might have been woodcock. I was reading something. Somebody said, and it's just their skin is so fragile that it's just really tough to do.
Yeah, and then even like the mourning dove you're talking about. You can just look at them and feathers come off.
It's Aaron's fault, to be honest. Well, this is a snipe, and this is actually what started it all. It was in the best shape of the two that we got in 2014, and I wanted to have it mounted, and so we got it mounted, and that started this. And like I said, this is what started it all with the snipe. And then this is a soar rail. There's 2 different types of rails you can hunt in Oklahoma: the soars and the Virginias. We have yet to even see a Virginia. So, but this is one of the 7 rails we got at Hackberry Flat in 2015, the first rail hunt ever. And I do have to say that when I took it into Terry's taxidermy to have it done, Terry got it done, and he said that it was probably one of the favorite things he'd ever seen done there at the shop.
They're very strange. They're very weak flyers, and they often don't fly far. A lot of the ones that we jumped up, they fly about as long as it takes you to get your gun up and pull the trigger. So you shoot, and they don't land. They just stop flying.
And just drop.
So a lot of times the one would get up and go, and you'd bring the gun up, bang, and they would just fall, and you think, I got him. And you go look, and you couldn't find it. I got my dog in there.
He just dropped.
And they were, so we noticed sometimes when you wouldn't shoot, they'll fly from here to the camera and then just boop, and then just hit the dirt again. So they're it's interesting. Like I said, they're such weak flyers, I don't know how they migrate, but they do.
And then Aaron's got the gallinal there, and that was our first gallinal hunt down at Red Slough. That was one of the 4 we got that day. They're
a coot in makeup, basically. I think other than the fact that they're restricted to the far southeast part of the state, I mean, they're different. I mean, the feet are different. They don't have the webbed lobes like a coot does, and they do walk around on the vegetation. It is kind of interesting to watch them, the way they walk around on the vegetation. So I guess they're dependent on areas with floating vegetation. September, with the fire ants and the wasps and the mosquitoes and the alligators, they make it for an interesting hunt. They're not that uncommon, and you hear them in the vegetation, but they don't show themselves often. Right. And then if you do get one, and now it's in the water, and you got to go get it somehow, and then you remind yourself about the alligators and such, which I'm sure don't typically prey on humans, but you know, so it's just yeah, it's an interesting hunt.
And honestly, we honestly thought the gallnut was going to be the hardest, you know, and it ended up being one of the easiest. The woodcock ended up being the hardest.
Stay here.
Good shot.
Mason.
But that's half the fun with hunting with a good friend too, is the funny things that happen and you laugh about later.
Here, fetch. Here, heel. Sit. Sit. She's like, what are all these people? Good girl. Sit.
Camera shy.
Hold. Sit. Drop. That bird right there. That's why they call them Hollywood. A gorgeous duck. Kind of got a bad reputation. I guess it's the bill, but they're gorgeous. That's as pretty a drake. You got one of these on the wall yet, man?
I do not have a shovel
Man,
on the
that
wall.
would be one to do. Look at him. He's gorgeous. Like they're put together by committee. They got the bright orange feet like a mallard and a powder blue wing patch like a teal. They've got this kind of fine comb along their beaks here. So they can, you watch them when they feed, they'll filter feed. They'll just use that to kind of sift little plankton and small organisms out of the water.
Very nice duck ear, and that's a pretty shoveler there.
You like that one, do you?
I do.
He's a pretty rascal.
If you're looking at doing the hip quest like we did and trying to get every bird, I'd say give it a try. For me, it was the enjoyment of going to multiple places in the state I'd never even been to hunt, and seeing, you know, and realizing, well, heck, I can only get these gallnut here, and look, there's an alligator I can watch while I hunt. And so it wasn't just about, it ended up not being just about getting the birds, but also seeing the places I hadn't been on. So yeah, if you're interested, I say definitely give it a try.
You want a good quote? If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with.
Oklahoma is blessed to have such a variety of public lands to even make what these two friends set out to do even possible. Aaron and Anthony's quest may have come to an end, but something tells us their adventures are far from over.
My name is Josh Richardson. I'm the migratory game bird biologist for the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. I enjoy getting out and seeing the wide variety of birds that are available in Oklahoma. Everything from doves to ducks and geese, swans, cranes. There's a lot of variety out there. I think it's neat that we had some of our hunters look at this permit that we have, see these additional birds that are on there that most people don't even think of when they're filling their permit out, and decide to make it a quest to try to achieve this. It's a pretty significant achievement. As they discussed, there are a lot of different habitat requirements for these birds, and it's a lot of work to try to find them, to come up with the right spots, and to actually hit it when the birds are here in the state. Again, these are migratory birds, so they're not here all the time. So trying to catch the right time, the right place, and then make the shot when they do flush, it's a challenge. The H.I.P permit, or Harvest Information Program permit, is used to provide hunter number estimates nationwide on a state-by-state basis. So the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service uses these permits to come up with hunter estimates for each individual state, so that then we can further survey those hunters to see how many birds they shot, what species of birds they shot, and that information throughout the year. The HIP permit covers a multitude of species. They're all migratory game birds. Some of them are common, like doves, ducks, geese. Some of them not as common, sea ducks, rails, gallinule, snipe, woodcock. The only relatively common migratory bird that is not on there is the sandhill crane, of which there's a separate permit for that. The HIP permit is required of all migratory game bird hunters, except those that are exempt from a hunting license. But it's required of all migratory game bird hunters. Like I say, it's used to develop hunter number estimates, so we need it for all hunters out there. So when working in the wildlife field, most people think that all we deal with is the wildlife out there, in my case, the migratory birds out there. But there's a lot of interaction with our hunters. So when people call up with questions about some of these birds that most people have never heard of or have only heard of as a high school prank, I get to answer those questions, and it's really interesting to talk with people like these two that took an interest in some of these birds that most people don't think of. Like we saw here, finding a hunting partner that gets out and enjoys the same things as you really can open up some new opportunities. If you haven't ever pursued migratory birds, whether it be something common like ducks or doves, or some of these odd ones like snipe or woodcock, find yourself a buddy, make it enjoyable. Having a friend out there not only provides some additional information, but provides just a good time out in the woods.
For more information about public land hunting opportunities in Oklahoma, visit our website at wildlifedepartment.com. There you'll find the typical bird species that are found on each area and contact information for the biologist. Don't hesitate to call them for additional advice as well. And who knows, maybe Aaron and Anthony today have inspired you and your buddies to go after your own HIP quest. Hey, thanks for joining us today. For all of us at your wildlife department, I'm Todd Craighead, and we'll see you right back here next time on Outdoor Oklahoma.
We get the kids up really early Monday morning, about 5 o'clock, and we put them on the boat with a striper guide, and they go out and catch a striper. This year at camp, there was only about 3 of the kids that had ever even seen a striper in real life, so they were introduced from striper that were 6 inches long all the way up to about 12.5 pounds was the biggest striper that was caught yesterday. From there, they go to a ropes course where they get to conquer their fear of heights. Several of them had some big-time fear of heights yesterday, and they made it not only across the high course, but they also got up on top of the power pole and stood up there and jumped off and kicked the cowbell, and some big-time accomplishments. Today is Tuesday. We spend all day Tuesday on the water. They spend half the day with the fisheries crew doing fisheries management. One other thing we introduced the kids to today on the water is some waterfowl enforcement. And when we come up with hunt scenarios on the water, that's really the only one that fits. So some guys come down from northern Oklahoma that prepare for this day. They save some waterfowl from the previous hunting season just for this day, so they can set the ducks out. And the kids actually have real ducks to wade through and try to figure out which ducks are which and whether they're within the law and if they're within the legal limit.
You guys are the game wardens. You're there to check their license, make sure that they don't have too many ducks. What's the limit on ducks? Just a general limit. No more than 6 per person. Yep.
I just shoot turtle birds, sir. I got confused.
Yeah.
Carrie, you want to see it?
Those are mine. And then Ben's they're over there by his gun that you didn't grab.
And it's really there for them to just open their eyes to how complicated the enforcement side can be.
Oh, that's a goose.
It's the wrong. Is it not goose season?
No, sir. Is it duck season?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Oh.
Well, I thought it was goose season too.
Okay, the upcoming few days we'll spend with our feet on the ground. They spend half the day shooting archery, half a day shooting shotguns, and half a day with rifles. We introduce them not only to those sports, but how to do them correctly and safely. They do some firearm safety, some self-defense, and then they'll spend about a quarter of a day learning how to age deer both on the hoof and after they've been harvested. They learn how to score deer antlers. They learn a lot about trapping and fur bearers. The youth camp is set up for kids that want to pursue a profession in some sort of wildlife-related career. That's really what we have the camp for. We try to introduce the kids to all facets of the wildlife department. Every division that we have, they get some introduction to each one of those throughout the week.
Fishing, hunting, wildlife management, resource protection, habitat conservation, public outreach, and education.
It's what we do.
It's what we live for.
Simply put, conserving wildlife literally means the wise use of wildlife. And that's at the root of everything we do. Oklahoma is one of the most species-diverse states in the nation. Making sure opportunities exist for hunters, anglers, and all those who appreciate wildlife is not only our job.
It's our passion.
We are your Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. From sunup to sundown, and sometimes all night long. The employees of our agency are relentless in their dedication to a job well done. The science behind wildlife conservation is constantly evolving, and our biologists are leading the way with groundbreaking and cutting-edge techniques that the entire scientific community benefits from. If that's not enough to make you proud, then consider this. We've been doing all this since our agency's birth in 1909, without using a dime of taxpayer money. That's because the Wildlife Department is designed as a user-pay, user-benefit agency. It's sportsmen and wildlife enthusiasts who pay the bill for wildlife conservation in Oklahoma. Revenue from the sale of hunting and fishing licenses make up the majority of the agency's budget. There's also another unique way that outdoorsmen contribute financially. Each time someone buys a gun, ammunition, fishing equipment, or fuel for their boat, a small portion of the tax they pay at the register is used for wildlife conservation. But hunters and anglers don't just contribute financially. A long time ago, we recognized that sportsmen are our most effective management tool. Shaping regulations and making sure everyone complies to them has played a major role in bringing many species back from the brink of extinction to unimaginable numbers. As much as the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation has accomplished, we are positive our agency's best days are yet to come. You can see it on our faces. You can feel it with your hands. And you can hear it on the landscape. You'll find us working hard to make your state's natural resources the most healthy in the land.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are your Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation.